Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, Kamala's interview with CNN Dana Bash went as badly as Joe Biden's debate. That thing was an absolute disaster. Why was it a disaster? I'll tell you why it was a disaster. Simply because progressives are no longer used to being challenged by the mainstream media. Ever since the reign of Barack Obama, these people have gotten a free pass. So when they're challenged on their positions in any way, shape, or form, you're talking about that was a layup of an interview. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz still bricked. They were absolutely horrible. She admitted that her values haven't changed, so we'll explore that. The only reason why Kamala Harris is in the position that she's in, let's keep this in mind, is because she slept her way to the top with Willie Brown, and then she ended up becoming an AG of California, and then she became a senator, and then she stabbed Joe Biden in the back, and then they forgot about all the 14 million people that voted for Joe Biden in the primaries. This lady doesn't deserve to be where she's at, frankly. But her values haven't changed, guys. I said this in a short yesterday. Her values haven't changed. So I'm glad that she said that, meaning she's a liar, meaning she's a Marxist. If her values haven't changed, her policies haven't changed, right? Because her policies are ideological. They align with her values. So she's still anti-fracking. She still wants Medicare for all. She's still against Second Amendment rights. She still wants price controls for groceries that will cause shortages in groceries and cause you to starve, and prices will go up. She still would bail out BLM rioters and at the same time call on J6 protesters or call them out. That's who Kamala Harris is. She still wants to pay off student loan debt by using the money of working class Americans to pay for people that will eventually be probably the elite, if you will, at least monetarily in society. This is a lady that is for an EV mandate, and yet she claims that she wants to control climate change as if that's real. That's nothing but fear mongering. So she still wants the EV mandate. This is a lady that still wants open borders. Why? Because her values have not changed. This is a lady that wants to get every first-time home buyer $25,000 that'll only cause the housing market to increase each house by at least $25,000. And you guessed it, cause a shortage on housing. And this is a woman that believes that men can play in women's sports. Tim Walz, the same thing. This is a woman that wants DEI in the military and academia in our schools. This is a woman that helped Biden pressure Facebook and social media giants to censor conservative thought on social media, and the Hunter Biden laptop story leading up to the 2020 election. This is a lady who still says that she wants Biden's budget, basically. So no change is happening between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. She's basically keeping his plans, but going a little further left. All right. She's just going to ignore more of the voters. She wants to keep his 2025 budget that will increase the federal deficit by about $5 trillion. That's insane. So if you think we're experiencing inflation now, you haven't seen anything yet. Shalom. Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. Today's show is brought to you in part by Priority Gold. Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we've built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, it's time to make it a priority. My name is Carl Jackson, and I am urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. You can call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist, or visit prioritygold.com/golden to learn more. Again, that number 1-800-405-GOLD. And remember, it is gold that is a hedge against inflation. And if this chick gets in the White House, boy, will you need a hedge against inflation. All right, so here's what I'm going to do in case you missed it and in case you can't stomach the entire interview like I could not. And it was a fluff piece, guys. There were some good questions that Dana Bash actually asked. The problem was she never did any follow-ups. She didn't do any pressing. So Kamala Harris, in my opinion, probably got the questions in advance, or at least for the most part, they knew what was going to be asked, and they had platitudes ready to go. You didn't learn anything about Kamala Harris and her campaign in this interview, and shame on Dana Bash for that, because I was starting to feel like, I was calling out CNN before this interview, saying it was going to be taped, it was going to be edited. Dana Bash wasn't going to go at her hard. I started listening to some other conservatives, and never do that. Always make sure that God is speaking to you, and then you're forming your own opinions on matters. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this chick is really going to do. No, she was totally in the tank for him. Didn't press them with the exception of a follow-up on one or two questions, and they weren't harsh. She gave them multiple choice. When she asked a question, she gave them multiple choice answers, which you'll see. So what we're going to do is basically we're just going to go over about 10 or 11 videos where you can, and I'll respond to those videos. And honestly, everything that you see in this podcast is all you need to know. Plus, you get the added benefit of listening to my voice, so it's a little easier to digest. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through them. Let me see, because I texted this to Gabe earlier, and I want to be able to keep up. So we're just going to go one by one. This is Kamala Harris. Basically, she's confirming that she's still a radical left, and that when it comes to amnesty, ending cash bail, banning fracking, abolishing private health insurance, she says, my values have not changed. We'll start with that. I believe that's video clip number 1. Por favor, Gabe. And we're just going to work our way through the line.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America, and by extension the globe, around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed.
Okay, so a few takeaways there. In that very first video clip, I want you to notice, first off, because nobody's mentioning this, what Dana Bash did. Dana Bash gave her a layup. Dana Bash said, I'm asking you this question. This is a question that everybody wants to know, but I'm going to give you some multiple choice answers so that you can pick and choose the route you want to go. Kamala Harris was too unintelligent, too much of a moron. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. Too much of a moron to realize what was happening, apparently. And this stuff was taped and this was edited. I can't imagine what we did not see. All right. Plus, she comes across, I can't stand her stank behind attitude. I mean, Dana, what is it? Could you imagine listening to that crap for 4 years? All right. So she admitted, the Green New Deal, climate change is a crisis, because that's what the left always does. Never mind the fact that we are now learning that the Atlantic Ocean, for some reason, scientists can't even figure out is cooler than it's been in God knows how long, and they can't figure out why it's bringing in all this cool weather. So there goes that, right? But it doesn't matter. This is all about fear mongering. This is all about depopulation. But she admitted she was the deciding vote in the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act caused the inflation rates in America to skyrocket because we did not need any more stimulus money after Trump had already given us stimulus money in his last year in office. By the time Trump was leaving office, the numbers were starting to return. The inflation rate was only about 1.4%, if I recall correctly, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, she being the deciding vote of the Inflation Reduction Act, they passed that legislation. They just threw money in the ether. We've not recovered from it since. Gas prices have gone up. Grocery prices have gone up. Housing prices have gone up. And you can thank Kamala Harris for that. And she said she wants to put metrics on the Green New Deal, which means she's going to be into the climate change movement and shuffling money around for that, which means even more government spending. Gabe, let's go to the next video. Por favor. The next video is talking about this is Kamala Harris denying her support or denying that she ever mentioned a ban on fracking. Video clip number 2, por favor, Gabe.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
Okay, getting beyond her stank behind attitude again. You guys and many people have mentioned this, but I'm mentioning it here so that you are informed. She didn't make it into 2020 on the debate stage until perhaps, I guess, later on in the year with Mike Pence. She had already dropped out of the race. She never made it to Iowa. So she dropped out. I believe it was in the latter. I believe it was December of 2019. I do not recall. But she just could. Once people got to know Kamala Harris, they did not like her. And she, in fact, there's video out there. I believe we played it earlier. If not, we'll play it again at some point. But I'm pretty sure we played it this week, where she outright said that she does not support fracking and that she would ban fracking. What she did do in 2020 in a debate, apparently with Mike Pence, is say that Joe Biden does not want to ban fracking, so we will not be banning fracking. So in other words, she was taking Joe Biden's position because she was the second person on the ticket running as VP. She wasn't going to be the one that was going to be in charge. But as you can see, they basically passed the Inflation Reduction Act, was basically the Green New Deal. And so what they also did was banned oil companies from retrieving oil and natural gas from federal lands. So essentially, they did ban a lot of this stuff, and that's why we have high gas prices, and that's why we're paying for fuel. Paying people for fuel. People like Russia, people like Venezuela, and even though you have oil companies that are retrieving lots of oil and probably just as much, if not more, is simply because they've started to completely focus on their own territory because they've been kicked off of federal lands due to the Biden-Harris administration. This lady is a joke, and she's just lied to you right in your face. She lied about the year. I don't know if she got confused or she just lied about it. But again, now she lied about the ban on fracking. This is Kamala Harris. This chick is an absolute disaster. We got more videos that I want to show you. Let's go to the next one. She's talking about bringing the inflation rate down. This, too, is a scam. We'll talk about why. Let's go ahead and roll that video clip number 3. Por favor, Gabe.
You have been vice president for 3.5 years. Yeah. The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
Okay, liar. The economy was already recovering. Remember, the economy was already recovering. Trump had brought in the inflation rate back down to 1.4% before he left office. Again, going back to video clip number 2, she signed the Inflation Reduction Act. She was the deciding vote. For the Inflation Reduction Act, which Biden then signed into law. That caused inflation to skyrocket. Over 9% interest rates. All right. They caused that. And then now over time, as the money has been spent, as the Fed has kept the interest rates high, since more money is leaving the economy, since more money is being spent, now the inflation rate is down to 3%. So the inflation rate that she brought down was her own inflation rate. This lady is a snake. She either she's either incompetent, or she's just lying. But I see it as she's a snake. I don't think she's that bright. I think people are on with that, but I don't know that that's the bigger issue. It is a big issue, but I don't know that that's the bigger issue. But she'll lie right to your face. And again, you gain nothing. You didn't gain anything. You don't walk away learning anything new from Kamala Harris, except that her values haven't changed. That's the biggest takeaway, if we're being honest. Her values have not changed. So if this lady gets in the White House, you can expect Biden 2.0, but worse. All right. So first, before we get on to the next clip, let me talk to you about my friends at MyPillow. You've asked in MyPillow, listen, they're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow that's just $19.98. That's insane, Gabe. You should buy that MyPillow and use my promo code, by the way. MyPillow is made with a patented adjustable feel. It adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for just $25. You can't beat that with a bat. The brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow that's only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, at checkout. I don't spell it like the communists. All right, so I think that was video. You're probably gonna have to help me keep on track here, Gabe, so I don't lose my. Okay, so now we're going on 4. She refuses to address her support for decriminalizing illegal border crossings. Caught number 4, por favor.
You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally. And there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws. And I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Shut up, you Prince lookalike. This lady is such a fraud. Every job that she spoke about was was when she was serving in California. Guys, have you been to California? I'm from California. Basically, it's Mexico now. All right. I mean, it's insane. And I'm not saying this is some type of bigot. Love the Mexican people, but that is a fact, Jack. And by the way, she didn't mention the open borders. We have a record number of illegal crossings thanks to the Biden-Harris administration. And now what they're trying to do is hide some of those crossings. We haven't decreased the amount of people coming into the border illegally. These people are using your taxpayer dollars to fly them in. To fly them in. This lady is sick. This lady is a liar. And if you think open borders are bad now, I think, look at her attitude. Look at her nastiness, her stank behind attitude. This lady, she straight up shanked Joe Biden in the back. You're going to be competing for jobs. You're going to be competing for housing. Your children are going to be competing for resources in their schools and teachers' time. You're going to be competing for local resources and, emergency rooms with more illegal aliens if Kamala Harris gets in. And yes, that is fear-mongering. The difference is that's the truth. And you know it because they're already entering in. Have you guys seen the video of Aurora, Colorado lately where the Venezuelan gang, I think they're called like Aragua something, whatever, have taken over 2 apartment complexes, keep kicking people. And a lot of those complexes, a lot of people are some of the illegal immigrants that have come into the country that are being housed there, but some of them are regular residents. One lady said she called the cops. tried to call the governor's office, and basically they were just left to die. The cops aren't doing anything about it. And listen, I'm not trying to blame the cops. I guarantee you the cops aren't doing anything about it because the mayor, I would imagine, and the governor, the liberal governor, don't want to do anything about it because they're all for illegal immigration. Let's go to video clip number 4. This is the next one. She wants to strengthen the middle class. I want to talk about this. I think that's cut number 5. Yeah, I believe that's cut number 5.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all,
I think that's
the root
cut number
causes
4.
work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
about... Not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Just one other...
Not only push it, but I would make sure it would come to my desk and I would sign it. Guys, let's hope that that's not the case. Again, that bill was a disgusting bill. It would have codified nearly 2 million illegal aliens coming into the country every year, not including the legal immigrants. I believe the number is 1.8 million. So Republicans, feckless Republicans that got on board, like Senator Langford, trying to be a good Christian, I guess, got on board with that stupid, nonsensical bill because they said it was the best that we could do for now. And I want to draw your attention to something else. I'm not sure that anyone else is going to say that. If I'm Xi Jinping, if I'm Vladimir Putin, if I'm Kim Jong-un, I love listening to that particular clip. You know why? This chick is in power. She's in power. Trump isn't in power. Biden is in power, though he's chilling on the beach. They're in power. And they're talking about a man that has no power, at least right now. What a weakling. What a weakling. We cannot, this lady shouldn't even be pruning the garden at the White House. Was that sexist, Gabe? Nah, it's okay. Let's go to video clip number 6. Pull 5.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
Yes, people are ready for a new way forward. That's why we want to kick your butt out of office. Stop pretending like you're not in power right now. Why can't you do that stuff right now? I guarantee you she can't even explain inflation. I guarantee you that she doesn't understand that it is government that causes inflation, government spending that causes inflation. That's why one of her first goals when she gets in office is to keep that plan to go after grocery stores on price gouging. You know, those grocery stores that are ripping you off by making a 1.4 to 1.8% profit margin to barely survive. Yeah, those grocery stores. This lady is clueless when it comes to when it comes to economics. Excuse me. And I got to be honest with you, and we've all fallen into this trap. I used to talk about this frequently. It's been so long. You know, the political cycle. Honestly, ever since Barack Obama has just been so insane. It's become easier to talk about middle class on. But you know what we have in America? Basically a graduating class, a fluctuating class. If you in America, you can be poor, and I don't care if you make minimum wage. If you invest for 20 years, you know what I'm saying? You know how to, and nobody stays on minimum wage pay for 20 years. But even if you did, hypothetically speaking, and if you were able to spend below your means and invest, you could become a millionaire making minimum wage salary. I know that's hard to believe. You would have to be creative, no doubt about it, find roommates on, etc. But it could happen. And then when it comes to the middle class, people fluctuate in and out of the middle class all the time, going from middle class to being poor. What, you know, they may lose a job. Some big tragedy may occur. They may be hospitalized. Who knows? The same is true for wealthy people. It is very rare. People don't understand this. It's very rare to find people in the United States that make $1 million every single year. There might be millionaires out there, but typically that millionaire status is a result of assets. They own property. They have some money in the bank. So their accumulated assets puts them into the millions. It's not that they necessarily bring home $1 million per year. That is very, very rare in America. But the point of the matter is, you can create that type of wealth. You can go out and create a service industry. You could become a janitor. You can mow lawns. It doesn't matter. The more clients you get, the more money you make, then you provide more services. It doesn't matter. America is a land of opportunity. And I got to be honest, I fall into this trap myself, but I don't like it. We have a fluctuating class of citizens in America. Unfortunately now, because the Biden-Harris administration has been so tough on the poor and middle class by taxing them through inflation, or taxing us through inflation, the rich have been getting richer and the poor have been getting poorer. That's a fact, Jack. All right, I'm not even sure where we were at, Gabe. So I'm going to have to count on you at this point. We'll move on to, I think, maybe number 7. Does that sound about right? Okay. Bidenomics.
We maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work.
Okay, so you heard it here. She just said Bidenomics is a success. That's what she said. She went to she offered a word salad arrangement of doing it, but basically she said, "Yeah, I know Americans are paying more for food, food, shelter, clothing, gasoline, but Bidenomics is working. We've been a success." She really didn't answer the question except to say that Bidenomics has basically been a success. So if you think that her values have changed, no, her values haven't changed. She's right. She's still a Marxist, and she still believes in taxing you to death and a society of the have and have-nots. Do you think that Bidenomics has been a success? Does your pocketbook, does your savings account, does your investment portfolio tell you that Bidenomics has been a success? Does your business profit tell you that Bidenomics has been a success? She thinks it has. Man, this lady, she will be an absolute and utter disaster. And she's so confident in her lack of knowledge. That's what's even scarier. She's too arrogant, too narcissistic, and perhaps too dumb to realize her policies are a disaster. Or maybe she just flat out doesn't care. because this lady is cold and calculated. I mean, again, this is a chick that slept with Willie Brown to bolster her career. This is a lady that just shanked Joe Biden, the sitting president, in the back in order to advance her career. Let's go on to the next one. Number 8, por favor, Gabe. Kamala acknowledges
but I wonder
prices
what
are
you say
too
to
high.
voters
I thought
who
Bidenomics worked.
do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost.
Yeah.
People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
Sorry. She just said Bidenomics worked. And then she admitted that prices are too high. This is another thing I forgot to mention about the last clip. And she mentioned it in this clip too. She talked about job creation. In the last video clip, she talked about 800,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs that came back. She talked about 10 million jobs coming back there. Guys, what happened? What happened? This little liar is trying and hoping. She's hoping you're as dumb as her. She's hoping that you'll forget that they didn't create new jobs. That, as a matter of fact, the only jobs that came back were jobs that were lost during COVID. People that were laid off as a result of the lockdowns, COVID lockdowns taking place across the country. Oh, and by the way, we got a recent jobs report that they inflated the jobs numbers. Biden and Kamala Harris inflated their jobs numbers by 818,000 jobs in the last year, or over the span of their. I forget if it's the last year or the span of their administration. Anyway, they lied about creating about 1 million jobs. They've been reporting it better than it has been for quite some time. And the jobs that were created, and now we know they weren't even as much of them, many of them were lower wage jobs that were taken by illegal immigrants. Let's go on to the next clip.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Okay, so that's Kamala Harris admitting that she's been around Joe Biden more than anyone else. And for some reason, she didn't realize, like the rest of the world did, that the guy's mental faculties simply weren't there. And obviously, guys, we know she's lying, and she has no regrets. She has no regrets because now she's the Democrat nominee. I won't say Democratic nominee because there was no democratic process to make her the nominee. This lady is just a straight up liar. We all looked at Joe Biden. We all knew that the guy was not there. I was saying before he won the White House, wink, wink, before he won the White House that the guy had dementia. I didn't think he would last 6 months. And then his last couple of years, he was a complete and utter disaster. You're telling me that I can see that from afar? And obviously they kicked him out, right? They staged a coup against Joe Biden because of his mental faculties, and they didn't think he could win the race anymore. So they installed Kamala Harris. And again, I've mentioned this several times. Don't think that she didn't play a role in that, because the only way you can invoke the 25th Amendment is if the vice president gets it started with the cabinet. So she had to be on board. So no, she doesn't regret lying about Biden's cognitive decline, because it's put her in the position that she's in now. This lady will do whatever it takes to obtain power, and she doesn't have a purpose. Look at how vague she is. She's trying to ride this wave to the White House through vagueness, not telling you anything. But she did tell us something. Again, biggest takeaway, her values have not changed. She's still a left-wing radical. All right, let's go to the next one. This is Stolen Valor, Tim Walz. And man, this guy is disgusting. Putting tampons. I'm not calling him coach. They're trying to make him, they're trying to make you feel good about this guy, Coach Tim Walz. This fool was an assistant coach. People probably didn't even call him. Maybe they did call him coach. I don't know. But they're trying to make you, he's the governor, and he's a crappy governor. Minneapolis is one of the worst ran states. He took a surplus of 16 billion. I'm sorry, Minnesota. He took a surplus, I believe it was of $16 billion in his state, and wiped it out using a bunch of government left-wing radical programs that have not worked, and patted himself on the back. He's also one of the worst, along with Governor Cuomo, Gretchen Whitmer, himself. I believe there was one other that were responsible for many of the deaths that took place in the nursing homes during COVID, because his lockdown policies, not his COVID, his lockdown policies were so extreme. But here's Stolen Valor, Tim Walz, and I don't care if I'm not a soldier or a veteran. I'm using Stolen Valor because as a citizen, when I look at soldiers, whether it's in the airport, whether it's, in a grocery store, when I see them, I see honor, I see integrity, I see a hero when the time calls for them. This guy lied about it all along, and he did it in order to advance his career. Let's play Stolen Valor, Tim Walz. I don't know what clip this is, but the first one, and then we'll go right to the next one.
I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
This guy needs a tampon. What a little wuss. Listen, man, I would never call these people president or vice president. I would never. I pray to God they don't make it. This guy is such a fraud. First off, all he's had is government jobs. I'm not trying to diminish his service in the military, but when he's gonna lie about his rank, when he's gonna lie about going to war. This guy was in the military. He was in the National Guard, right? Do you think he knows the difference between a semi-automatic and full automatic weapons that you can use in the theater of war? Of course he does. He knew he was lying. He was speaking great grammar there. You think it was a grammar issue? No, it's an integrity issue. This fool has been caught lying so much, it's absolutely insane. And I'm not going to degrade anyone else's. Of course you aren't. Ooh, almost made me call him a little female dog. Of course you aren't, fool. Of course you aren't, because you don't want people to bring attention to your stolen valor, you punk. I have no respect for this guy. None. I'm sorry. And I'm even teetering on respect of his service because he admitted that he took more advantage of the military than they did of him. This guy is just this just a fake, just a phony, just a fraud. And then he wants to talk about gun violence in schools. What about the BLM riots in Minneapolis, fool, when you let your city burn down? What about that? What about the kids that are being shot and killed in blue cities all across the nation while you guys sit there and lie and try to tell us that crime rates are down because you're not reporting crime in the same way like Kamala Harris did with Proposition 47, where felonies are no longer felonies. People can steal and rob and do everything else and get bail, no cash bail, walk right out of jail, basically. Crime isn't down. You're just reclassifying it so you jackasses don't look bad. Man, I'm so I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't stand that fool more than her, and she disgusts me. Let's go to the next clip, or is that the last one, Gabe?
You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving.
It's a pattern.
What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights.
Oh my
the contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
What? What? First off, he owns up to his mishaps or mistakes or whatever. No. You lied, and she didn't follow up. I'm sorry. Listen, I know that a lot of people have said that she's a great journalist, and she wasn't there. All right, she wasn't there. She could have easily followed up. Wait a minute. There seems to be a pattern. You talked about weapons of war. You said IVF instead of IUI. You lied about the drunk driving arrest. You lied to the cop and said you had an hearing issue. You lied. Another story came out earlier this week. He lied about winning some local Nebraska award that he didn't, about being a great young man or something like that he didn't win. This guy has a pattern of lying. He is a perpetual liar. He's not a good guy. He's not a good man. He's not a good politician. He's destroyed his state. And the only reason that he's allowed to run that state is because there's so many liberals there. The same is true with Kamala Harris. Some of the worst states in the United States: California, New York, Minnesota, sadly, because I know there's a lot of great people in Minnesota. You hear them all the time on radio. When I've sat in, for some of the national hosts, they'll call some great people in those states. But unfortunately, they're overwhelmed by leftists. And Tim Walz, as governor of Minnesota, has destroyed that state. And it's always been a liberal. I mean, for as long as we can remember, it's the one state that Ronald Reagan didn't win back during in his 1984 reelection run. It's the only state that he didn't win, with 49 state landslide. So it's always been a state of liberals. But now it's a state run by liberals. But now it's a state that's run by leftists, run by a commie, and a lying disgusting one at that. Anyway, guys, listen, I know that stuff, it's hard to get through that interview. And that entire hour was a fluff piece. I think there was only 16 minutes of actual Kamala Harris interview, and the rest was a fluff piece for her campaign, for the most part. This is the reason this interview was a disaster. It was dumb to make one single interview, hype it up, but it was a disaster. It was as bad as Joe Biden's debate. And the only reason is because the reason why this interview was a disaster, it isn't just because of Kamala Harris, although it is because of Kamala Harris, if you get my drift. It's also because of people like Dana Bash that have refused to challenge politicians and to make them answer questions like they do with Republicans. Have you seen her with J.D. Vance? She's just like, boom, boom. She's getting everything she can from them. When it comes to Kamala Harris, what do you want to say? Oh, let me give you some multiple choice answers in case you want to go down this road to explain yourself. Disgusting. I'm sure she's a nice person. She was a horrible interviewer there. And she did the debate with Biden and Harris. But I got to be honest with you. This is just mere speculation on my part. She and was it Chuck Todd, or I forget, Chuck Todd or the other guy. They remind me of each other. But nonetheless, she did a great job in that debate with Trump and Biden. But this is just me. This is pure speculation. I could be completely wrong. And if I am, forgive me. I don't want to necessarily question her character. But the Trump campaign were calling them out before the debate, the moderators, so that it would be a more fair debate. And I also wonder if, they wanted Joe Biden out too. Maybe they knew. Just ask them a question and let them flail. I don't know, but I wonder. Guys, don't forget Priority Gold. It's a hedge against inflation. If this chick gets in, you're going to need it. Again, 1-800-405-GOLD to get your portfolio working for you while the market is good or golden. All right, 1-800-405-GOLD or prioritygold.com/golden to learn more. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.